So we've now built all the submodels, and we're going to take all of these items one by one, and we're going to plug them in into our calculator below, right? So first thing that changes is gross revenue is fine, but we need to add a line item, and that line item is going to be revenue receipts. So our revenue receipts is going to be this number 7,200 minus, we've done that calculation above, right? Where we said, there we go. So it takes about 8%. That's the variable cost per order. 8% of revenue basically disappears, goes away. We don't need to see it. And I think that number is here times 12. No. Yeah. So this is my revenue receipts. Processing charges. Let's call this processing charges. So processing charges is going to be, let's just break it down so it becomes easier. Processing charges coming from this number, which you've done on a monthly basis, into 12. So these are our processing charges. And then this becomes net revenue receipt. Now this is a really important concept, and it's an important concept because, you know, when we build models, we often forget or ignore or don't factor the fact that there is a certain cost. If you accept cards at your facility, you're going to lose about 3.5% of receipts. So your model might say that, you know, I'm going to make 250 dirhams per order or per customer, and you can do the math in your head saying, okay, 250 into this is going to be X number of dollars or dirhams. But the reality is that there's a small itsy bitsy teeny weeny bit that'll get factored out, that'll get charged out. You need to factor that into your calculations. We've done that here. So that gives us these two figures. These are the first two pieces of the puzzle that we've updated. So this is now a more, no, not this one. What do I need to do? I need to push it here. That's processing charges. Okay. Then what do I need to add? So this is my cost of goods sold. This is fine. Gross margin is fine. Now cost of goods sold is here, but my gross margin I need to calculate not from that number. So my gross margin previously was being calculated from the top. So I'm going to use this figure. So I'm going to update this, and this is going to become 103. So this will then become this minus this figure. So it's now a lot lower, right? Because I factored in the cost of processing charges. Now in my expenses, I can put in, I'll just add another line item here. Let me just add one more line item here, and this would become salaries. And my salary bill we've calculated here. And my G&A bill I've calculated here, which includes everything. Just do my sales and marketing spend I've already calculated here, which is this number. And my other expenses, we've done compliance. Yeah, we've done compliance insurance here, so I don't need other expenses. All right, so now if I scroll down all the way to the bottom, this is done, this is done. Other expenses I'm going to kill for now. We'll come back to it later if we need it, right? So that's done. So that's total operating expenses. Total operating expenses is sum of these three items. And formula sum trace precedent. So it doesn't include salaries for now. So this has to go to 109. So now it includes salaries. It does, so extend it from here to here. This goes up, and we've got our operating income estimate. So what have we done now? What do we do? Mean no fill, remove everything, remove all the borders, and remove all the bolded figures. There we go. So now, while I format this, once we have a dynamic model, then we can do analysis with it. Without the dynamic model, analysis is going to be a challenge. So let's take this operating expense here, let's just reformat it a bit. Okay, this is cleaner now. So, okay, let's operating income here. So from a line item point of view, if I number this again, the first is gross revenue, second is processing charges, third is net receipts revenues, fourth is cost of goods sold, fifth is gross margin, sixth is expenses, seventh is salaries, G&A, sales and marketing, 10th is total operating expense, and 11 is this number. So what do you think? Do you think Maya should explore UAE expansion option? Do you think the numbers make sense? Do we believe these numbers? Are they real? Historically speaking, as long as Maya can execute, as long as Maya can step in, as long as Maya can grow, as long as Maya can figure out how to stand apart from everybody else in that space, in the UAE and the Middle Eastern market, I think they have a shot. What we need to do now is we need to sort of clean up the model a bit and take a look at the assumptions and see how many of these are realistic and how many of these are not. How many of these have challenges and how many of these are clean and clear from our perspective. So we go up again because we need to do some final analysis and we try and clean up the model to see what is it that we've missed out. So the first thing we missed out is, we've done this ad spend, marketing ad spend. So let's clean this up first. We're saying we're doing about 2,400 orders per month, which on a daily basis, if you do orders per day, if you do say 26 days in a year, you're talking about averaging about 92 orders per day. Is that a good number? Is that a bad number? Is it a reasonable number? Respectable number? Believable number? What do you think? About 90 to 100 orders per day. So now what we're doing, what we're doing now is we're doing a model audit. From a traction point of view, from a traffic point of view, if I come here, I'd say 4% click-through is possible. I'd say this is a little ambitious, but yes, possible given Maya's track record and history. This I don't think is likable. This impressions, this is organic impressions. So let's call it organic impressions. This I don't think is, I think this is too ambitious. This is possibly going to be maybe about 1 million in the first year, 4 in the second year, 5 in the third year, and then 7 in the fourth year. 77, and I'd say about 9. So this I'm going to bring down a bit. So that's my impressions, that's my total impressions across all social properties. My click-through rate's fine. Cost per milli, this I think is going to go up. It's going to go up faster as it gets more competitive. So it's going to be 12, 15, 18, and about 20. So that's going to grow. So that's done. Click-through is fine. Landing pages is fine. Conversions fine. Orders per month is fine. Orders per day. So this now becomes more reasonable for me, right? This is one part. Now SKU I'm okay. Shipping, processing, capacity. Yeah, this I think I had an issue with. My issue was processing capacity per person is about 42 orders a day. I don't think that's possible. I think it's a more realistic number is about 5, and I'd say 6 hours net, not 7 hours net. You can aim for 7 hours net, but that's not going to happen. So 30 orders per day is more realistic. So I fixed this. So this is done. So my head count's gone up. And payment consolidator 6%, 6%, 15, 15. This is fine. Oh, did we factor in the shipping costs? We didn't. We were doing free shipping, right, per orders, but we haven't factored the shipping costs. So we have to factor that in. And that goes back to our calculation here. Where is this? Gross revenue, processing charges, and we add one more line. And this is shipping and deliveries. So you add shipping and deliveries. We done the calculation, but we haven't factored it in. So your net revenue receipt is going to be this minus that. Okay, so this becomes 2A. All right, so that's there. So come back. The shipping and delivery we factored. Variable cost per order we factored. Fixed cost per order we factored. Shipping cost, shipping plus refunds. Payment plus refunds we've processed. Salary inflation we factored in. Yeah. Here, manager ops for compliance. Shift supervisor, I think as you add more people, so as you go from, let's say, you may need more. So you want to need one more person here. There you go. So that takes care of warehouse staff. Warehouse staff is at 6 people in total. Processing capacity is this much per person. So that's 6 warehouse staff. Salary expense, space calculator. Space calculation, this is fine. Rental expense, this is okay. I'm going to just notch this up a bit. Not a lot, just a bit. Compliance is fine. Insurance is fine. Other incidentals, I'd make that to 20. This is done. Salary is done. Yeah, I think we're good now. So contribution margin is fine. Order drop is fine. Perfect. All right, reactions now. What do you guys think? Do you, oh, operating incomes turned negative. Why is that? What's changed? This has changed. Your sales and marketing budget is off. So the cost side I think is fine, but there is an issue, and that issue comes in if you look at customer acquisition cost, right? So if you think in terms of that's your, let's assume this is your ad spend, right? This is your ad spend, and I'm going to do a simple calculation. if these are the orders per month and this is your ad spend, right? What's your customer acquisition cost? Assuming that these are not repeat customers. So you're saying I'm going to spend 100,000 dirhams and in return I'll get about 1700 orders. Do you see that? This is your customer acquisition cost. ACQU. So that's your customer acquisition cost. And what does that represent as a percentage of your margin? If you think in terms of your margin is about, so CAC as a percentage of your contribution margin, this is about 57 divided by your contribution margin is right below here. It's about 75. The reason why you're losing money hand over fist is because your contribution, your cost of acquiring a customer is about 76%. You're spending too much. You're not making enough money. So how do you fix this? So remember, just think, take a step back and think in terms of what we've done. Step number 1, we build the model. Step number 2, we made it dynamic. Step number 3, we did a real life audit on our assumptions to make sure if the numbers made sense in terms of space, in terms of utilities, in terms of rental, in terms of salaries, in terms of assumptions. So we've done all of that. And then when we sort of fixed all of this, our numbers are looking really, really bad. They're negative all the way. So now we're investigating why. We're trying to figure out, why are we losing money? This is supposed to be a money-making business. We are not making money. We're actually losing money hand over fist. So the first thing we looked at was, we suspected because our marketing cost had gone up. We said this is not working out because of what's happening on the marketing front. So we have to fix that. Now, one way of fixing that is to come back and say that, listen guys, we have this pool of customers that's coming in every year. We've already acquired them. We've already spent 57 dirhams on acquiring them. Can we do something to convince them to buy again? So rather than spending money on acquiring new customers, can we generate repeat orders? To generate repeat orders, we actually have to model a customer retention mechanism. And that customer retention mechanism says, how many customers do we have? What's the existing pool? How many of those customers come back? So let's do that math. And that becomes our next submodel. I hope you're seeing what's happening here, right? As you moving forward, as you hit a stumbling block, as you see or feel or come across a challenge, you go back to the model and improve it. And every time you improve it, you add a small bit, just a teeny weeny itsy bitsy little bit of complexity to make it more real and more relevant. By definition, I say this again and again, by definition, all models are wrong, right? Because they are crude approximations of the real world. And our purpose of going through this iterative, step by step, piece by piece, repetitive approach of modeling is to make sure that every time we add one more point to make it closer to what we think real life would look like, right? So in real life, we're saying, what's my pool? What does my pool of customers look like? So let's start with the pool. What's my pool of customers? How do I define my pool of customers? My pool of customers is essentially everybody who's bought something from me in the past. So in the first year, it's 21,000 people bought stuff from me. In the second year, it's going to be this 21,000 plus 30,000 people here, right? So that's 51,000 people, right? That's my pool of customers. And I'm assuming these are all unique orders, right? That's the assumption. These are all people who've come in new. They're not repeat customers per se. Now, assume that 30%, customer retention. Let's assume customer retention. Assume that 30% of these guys, of these people, of these customers in the first year are happy, really happy with Maya's product, Maya's service quality, and they come back for an order. And let's say this number becomes 35% in the next year. So let's say it becomes 35% in the next year, 37% in the third year, and then gets capped about 40% in the final year. So if he's saying retain customers from the customer retention component, retain customers every year, this is going to be 21 into 30%. 6,000 customers were retained, and order frequency for these customers is, let's say, 3. And then let's put in retained customer conversion rate. So what I've done is I've built a slightly more complex model now, and that model has 3 pieces. To calculate this here to here. The first piece is how many customers are happy that they'll come back again. And I'm saying, of the pool, I've got about 21,000 customers. That's in my pool. And of those customers, about 30% are happy. And the next year, about 35% are happy. So it's about 18,000 customers. And then it's 30,000, and 52,000, and then 70,000 customers, right? So as I move forward, it's 6,000 customers in the first year, 18,000 customers in the second year, 30,000 customers in the third year, 52 in the fourth year, and 70,000 in the fifth year. These are customers who are happy with our service. They like us. And then my take is that, these customers who are happy, if they decide to buy in any given year, they buy about 3 times in a year. But then I say, these guys who are happy and are likely to buy and would buy 3 times a year, not all of them buy. Some of them buy. And that some percent is about, I said that at about 20, 25%. So this is my potential pool that's happy and that would buy, and this is the actual pool that buys, right? This is my model. So then this becomes my repeat orders. My repeat orders are these guys times 3 times what did I do wrong? Oh, so I did this times 3 times 20%. I had to do D30, not 31. There we go. So my repeat orders from this pool is about 3,800 orders. I'm saying the right way to grow Maya is to not focus on just new customers. The right way to grow is to also add repeat orders from existing customers. And that makes things really interesting, because what that does is, if you look at the math will now change. So remember, why did we do this exercise? This is our submodel. This is our retained customer repeat order model. We did this exercise because if you go back all the way to the bottom, Maya just became an ugly duckling. When we updated the model, we updated the calculation, Maya just said, I am going to be red all the way, right? Our take in our space is that repeat customers are easier to convert, and customer churn Not just in the e-commerce business, in any business, if you can convince an existing customer is already familiar, comfortable with you, to buy again from you, that creates a very different reinforcing cycle for your business, a very profitable, a very useful cycle for your business. So it's not just for Maya. In any business, if you can figure out how to convince existing customers to buy again, that's a good thing. That's what we're doing. Acquisition cost just highlighted the fact that just focusing on new customers is not going to be enough. All right, so now this I'm going to just turn so that we don't have to keep coming back to it again and again. And let's do conditional formatting and highlight cell rules greater than, less than, between, equal to. So it's cell rules. Less than 0. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so this is now our, if it's in red, things are not good. If it's fine, then it's fine. So we do this A here, and then I'm going to now just go plug in my repeat orders here. And the best part about this calculation, and the reason why I like it so much, is because we've made the model in such a fashion that everything is now linked together. Adding this will not require me to add and update anything else. I just have to update this cell. If I just update this one, orders per month. So orders per month, orders per year. Which one do I use? Formula, trace dependent. I use orders per year here, but for my revenue calculation, what do I use? For my revenue calculation, I am using formula trace precedent. I'm using this number, but then where is this number coming from? This number is coming from formula trace. So I'm trying to figure out which cell to update so that the model gets updated automatically. This is coming from orders per month here. So that means I need to update this calculation. This is my yearly retain. Yeah, so this I need to divide this by 12, then repeat orders, and this is repeat orders per month, and that figure becomes this by 12. So I'm going to add about, I'd start with 300, I'll get to about 4,400 orders per month by the time I'm done. So if I go to, where is it? Where is the calculation? Orders per month. There's the calculation, right? This I'm going to add plus 3117. And if I extend this, there you go. So we've now gone from 1,700 orders per month to 2,000 orders per month. We've gone from our pool of customers is also going up, so it'll become a reinforcing cycle. So there's an error in this that I'll identify a little later and highlight a little later, but for the time being this should solve our purpose. And SKUs or orders per SKUs are fine. So this we need to change, right, because this is just bumped up, and this should need to be about 50. This will become about 250. This will become about 300, about 400. So this math needs to be updated. Your resource cost, your resources required is bumped up. Your shipping expenses, headcounts is bumped up. Salary expense is gone up. And as a result of this calculation, let's take a look at your P&L. And yes, we are back. We are back in the game. So a couple of things. we've made a couple of assumptions here that needs to be addressed. So we come back here and we say retained customer conversion rates are not going to grow. They should remain, where are we? This one, yeah. This shouldn't grow. This should actually remain static. So bring it to 30%, 30%, and then bring it down to maybe 25%, and then bring it down to 20%. So there'll be some growth, but then numbers will start to come down. So that's one part. Conversion rates are going up, so that's the second part. And then this model has been updated. That's the third part. Okay, let's come back again. Are we still in the game? And yeah, it's gotten, so it's not as profitable as it was before, but it's still making decent money. So I think two key lessons that I want to highlight. One is, as you go over the model repetitively, as you repeat the process, as you work through it, you will find instances where you can improve the model and improve your thinking. If you remember, I said this right at the beginning. I said I'm going to do this, and I said this here when I'd shown you the Maya scale calculations. I said I'm going to do this stuff. Why? Because this leads to a better complete model, right? So if you look at, so we've done the impressions, we've now added organic impressions, we've done the customer retention piece, we've done the processing headcount, we've done the annual ad spend, we've done the order processing, we've done the ops count. It looks a little different. Oh, we left out customer support. We don't have customer support. We have to add customer support. We've done the G&A calculations, and we've linked all of that to our model calculation. And this model also, if you look at the numbers, it's a little bit more, it's better, but that's just a question of which assumptions we've picked up and what numbers did we use. So this is the V5 model I showed you at the beginning. What does our model look like? Our model is 1.2. Let me save this as 1.5. Save as 1.5. Okay, so that's one. Two, because we've made the model in a dynamic fashion, we didn't have to go and change a lot of the stuff. We had to change some of the stuff to make it better, right? So the next step for us is to take this, revise and upgraded model, come back and make it look a little bit more nicer and better. Okay. Key concept you highlighted today is iterative. Every round of improvement you go through, you add a bit of complexity to your calculations. So that's 2. 3, I think the key point that I want to highlight is your calculations are linked to submodels, and submodels don't need to be complex, but submodels make it possible for you to build a much more responsive, much more dynamic model. And then the third piece, which is not related to modeling but essentially related to building a business, is repeat customers are really important to your growth. Repeat customers is where your profitability improves. If you see this number, this was from 57. Your customer acquisition cost was it went from 57 to 75. You've essentially halved that. You've gone from 57 to 47 in the first year to about 38, and your customer acquisition cost as a percentage of your contribution margins is come down to about 62 from 62 to about 32%. Now you could use this number and figure out if you want to add that to your pricing and your costing. Do you want to increase another 15-20% in your pricing model to factor in the fact that you're spending so much on acquiring customers? So should you factor that in or not? So what we've done first pass is we've taken a beautiful thing which was a really nice and pretty simple model, right? Easy to decipher, easy to work with, and turned this into a monster. And look at this. So we've done a lot of stuff. and we fed all of that stuff into our simple model. So we've gotten some level of complexity, but also some level of realism. Okay. One thing I want to highlight and point out is very easy to get carried away with complexity. So a simpler model is always a preferred, is always a better model to have. And a simpler model that you understand, that you're comfortable with, that you can calculate, that you can update is far more useful, is far more important than anything complex that I can build. So I've covered some complexity. This is actually add a lot more complexity. I've covered some complexity because I wanted to make sure that you got a flavor. You don't have to include all of this. It's very much possible that you just have a very simple, down to earth, basic business model, and that model could be covered in just this small grid, this 5 by 10 or 5 by 15 grid. As long you understand how each component, each element of your customer experience costs, as long you understand that, as long as you understand what it costs you to deliver that component, that experience to your customers, as long as you factor that in, as long as you price that into your modeling, you'll be fine.